Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also make my comments as we celebrate 10 years of existence as a Senate. Mr. Speaker, I want to say I listened very carefully to what my majority leader was speaking, and I thank him because he gave us a very good summary of what we have been able to achieve as a Senate and the difficulties and the triumphs that we have seen in the last 10 years. Madam Speaker, the problems that this Senate has endured have something to do with the history in the formation. Madam Speaker, I was one of the members of that select committee that went to Naivasha. And it is good to recall, Madam Speaker, that the main target, the main thrust of our negotiations in Naivasha for the Constitution of 2010 was for the decision of whether we are going to go presidential or we are going to go parliamentary system of government. Madam Speaker, a lot of the other things were not really in focus. And I remember working round many hours, Madam Speaker, trying to find a compromise, meeting so many people, back, left and right. And Madam Speaker, when the deal was stuck that we were going to go presidential system of government, a lot of things, including the section that dealt with Parliament, were not given the real attention they deserve. Madam Speaker, I remember very well that we then, as members of Parliament, did not want to cede power. We did not want to cede power to a new house called Senate. So what was the solution? The solution was to propose a house that will be sitting just for 4 times in a year. The solution was to create a house similar to the one in the Kingdom of Eswatini, where, Mr. Speaker, members of Parliament are elected, and then from their various regions, they sit down to elect members of the Senate. In other words, it's a secondary vote. Then, Madam Speaker, we wanted to create a Senate similar to what existed then in Canada, where members of Parliament are the people who sit down and they do a secondary vote after the universal suffrage. And then, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, then the senators would come in. And what we had in mind, Madam Speaker, was to maintain all power within the National Assembly. And we were very clear at that time that we needed to just honor some legislators who had served term and who were willing to serve in the Senate. So, Madam Speaker, time has now come that because the committee of experts decided that they were going to give the senators universal suffrage, they were to come back by direct vote. Madam Speaker, then they did not give them the correct powers. Madam Speaker, then we have historical issues in terms of execution of our mandate. So, Madam Speaker, my prayer is that going forward, this House, Madam Speaker, would be a House that makes laws and have a second bite at the cherry. Today, Madam Speaker, during the statement hour, we were told of a law that was passed specifically at the National Assembly just to benefit those who wanted to make maximum profits from cashew nuts, Bixa, macadamia business. Madam Speaker, if that law had come to a second chamber, to a senior chamber such as ours, it would not have passed, and the people would have been saved. And Senator Morango from Kirinyaga would not have had to cry because of the way the farmers from his areas are being mistreated because of that law that was passed in a haste at the lower house. Madam Speaker, it would help us to think about making approval sittings to just be the Senate's preview, so that, Madam Speaker, only senators, like in the United States where we borrowed this system, should be sitting to approve potential nominees from